Hello and welcome back. Today is June 27th, otherwise known as the first presidential debate of 2024. And will Biden win or will Biden flop? Watch the whole video to find out. I will be commenting on the final election prediction before the debate, and then I'll do another prediction after the debate to see if the debate actually changed the outcome of the election. So without further ado, let's begin with the prediction. And lastly, make sure to subscribe for more predictions. Let's talk about the debate for a second. First, I believe that Trump will announce his VP candidate right after the debate if he has a bad debate performance in order to draw attention away from the debate and towards his VP candidate. Second of all, I think the debate is extremely important for the results of this election. It's going to test Biden's mental ability to be bar to bar with Trump and Trump's mental ability to be bar to bar with Biden. And we'll see which of them has the better cognitive ability to serve as the president, as well as their policy positions on a multitude of issues. So this will be the last pre-debate election prediction of 2024, and we'll see who will win the election according to pre-debate polling, and then we'll compare that to post-debate polling in a few weeks. So let's begin with the safe states for both parties. For Biden and Harris, this includes Washington, Oregon, California, Hawaii, Illinois, New York, Maine's 1st District, Vermont, Connecticut, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, D.C., Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and that's it. For Trump, this includes Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, Alaska, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Nebraska's 1st, Nebraska at large, Kansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, South Carolina, and West Virginia. So there are 2 battleground districts as well as 17 battleground states, with Trump currently trailing Biden 125 to 181. However, we'll soon see that Trump actually catches up to Biden and may actually lead Biden in this prediction. So let's begin. Let's go through some recent polling. So 538 forecast does have Biden leading 51 to 49 times, but in some of these states such as Texas and Florida, Trump is significantly in the lead. And that's due to polling. And even though Biden is leading currently, he took the lead in popular vote. This is not indicative of the electoral vote, which is actually what matters in the election. The popular vote does not matter at all. It's just an indicator for who the majority of people may want as president, but the electoral college is what matters most. And it's what candidates base their strategy around. So even though Trump is losing in the popular vote currently, let's not take that for him losing this election as a whole. Let's look at these battleground states and see who will win in the election. Let's start with the state of Texas, which has a whopping 40 electoral votes. So we may see that the lead of Trump over Biden is increasing from about 7% to 11%. But now Trump is only leading about 7 to 9% in these recent polls. But that is enough for him to take home the state of Texas with its 40 electoral votes. So while Texas may not 100% go to Trump, it will almost certainly go to him in this election, with it going to him by about 6% back in 2020 and about 9% back in 2016. So we can say that Texas will almost certainly go to Trump, bringing him to 165 electoral votes. So next, we have the state of Georgia. So Georgia has the potential to bring Trump in a dead heat with Biden 181 to 181. So let's look at these recent polls in the state of Georgia. And according to the 538 forecast, Trump actually is leading in the state of Georgia 60 to 40. And in these recent polls, he is leading by about 5 to even 8 percentage points, which is enough for him to be pretty solidly given the state of Georgia. There is still a chance for Biden to win in Georgia, but he probably will not win because in 2020 he barely won. But in 2016, Trump won Georgia pretty significantly, and I think it'll be closer to a 2016 margin in the state of Georgia, bringing Trump to 181 electoral votes. So now you may see that RFK Jr. currently has 0 electoral votes, but the state where he is most likely to get his electoral votes is Maine. So the state of Maine has RFK Jr. polling pretty highly, being at 15% or even 11%, which isn't that high, but 15% is pretty decent for RFK Jr. But Trump is leading by about 1 percentage point in these polls in Maine. The 538 forecast has a contrasting theory where Trump only has 25% chance to win in Maine, but that's similar to New Hampshire. But Trump is leading in these recent polls. So going off the polls, Trump does win the state of Maine. 183 to 181 is the current tally, and will also give Trump Maine's second congressional district, but will give Biden Nebraska's second. So those are the two battleground districts, and now Trump still leads by 2 electoral votes. We'll go to the state of Colorado. So Colorado has 10 electoral votes, which is pretty significant, and it is going to Biden by upwards of 10 percentage points. So Colorado is in line with its only 11% chance of Trump winning, and it will almost certainly go to Biden in 2024, bringing him to 192 to Trump's 184. However, Trump seeks to make a comeback with the state of Iowa, which went to him back in 2016 and 2020, and is polling over 10 percentage points for him in 2024. Honestly, I don't think Iowa is a swing state or even a battleground state anymore. Even though 538 does say that Biden has a 10% chance at Iowa, I think that Trump will almost certainly win the state of Iowa, as he did back in 2016 and 2020. So now this brings Biden to 192 and Trump to 190. And we'll go to the state of New Mexico. It doesn't have many electoral votes to offer, but this may be pretty significant given how close this election may become. So Biden leads by 7 or even 6 in these polls. So he does lead in the state of New Mexico, but it's not beyond a reasonable doubt of Trump winning in New Mexico. So Biden currently leads by 7 electoral votes, but we'll go to the state of Ohio and see if that can bring Trump over the edge. One of the leading candidates for the vice presidency is J.D. Vance of Ohio, and if Trump picks Vance, he will almost certainly win Ohio, but regardless, Trump is almost certainly winning Ohio, leading 7, 8, or even 11 in these recent polls, and winning by about 8 percentage points back in 2020. Trump will almost certainly win the state of Ohio and its 17 electoral votes. So Trump leads 207 to 197, only needing 70 more electoral votes to win this election. And will he get 10 more from the state of Minnesota? Well, let's see here. Minnesota is going to Biden 71 to 29% according to the recent forecast. But according to these polls, there is a different story being told. Trump leads in this most recent poll, but Biden leads in this poll, with Biden also leading by 6 in a recent June poll. So I do think that on average, Biden is leading in these polls, but it is in the tilt column. And now Trump and Biden are tied once again. So this election is shaping up to be extremely close. And watch the whole video to see who wins and my theories on why each candidate will win each state. So now we go to the state of Nevada, which is promising for Trump given that in the 2016 to 2020 voting shift where the Democratic Party gained way more votes in many states, Nevada remained relatively constant. So due to this, as well as recent polling in the state of Nevada, as we can see, Trump does lead by about 3. He's leading by about 7 in this poll. And also, let's see this. When RFK Jr. is included, Trump does lead by a greater percent than when RFK Jr. is not. So that's interesting to see. And I think that Trump will win in Nevada for those reasons. Probably a tilt margin, but he leads nonetheless with its 6 electoral votes going to Trump. To combat Nevada's electoral votes, the state of New Hampshire offers 4, and it will likely go to President Biden. With Biden leading by 3 or even 4 percentage points in recent polls, New Hampshire will follow its traditions of voting for the Democratic Party, and now Biden trails Trump by only 2 electoral votes. Still, the state of Florida remains, but also the Midwest states, which have been going to Biden in recent elections, such as the 2020 election. So now we'll go to Wisconsin, which may very well be the most contentious state in the entire union. In this 2024 election, we see that it flipped to Biden by about 0.1, but these recent polls are going to Trump. So who knows? Biden is leading +5 or +7 in these polls, but +3 or +2 in those. So I do think that Trump does win the state of Wisconsin, with recent polls going to Donald Trump. Now we have the state of Michigan with its 15 electoral votes. Obviously, the state of Michigan has its contentious issue of the Israel-Palestine war, and this issue may shape the election, with both candidates having seemingly wishy-washy stances on the subject. But Trump is leading in recent polls, with Biden leading in polls in May, but Trump leading in polls in June. This contrasts 538's forecast that Biden has almost a 60% chance at Michigan. So Trump does lead now 238 to 211, and it is looking like he's running away with this victory, but the state of Virginia can bring it back for Biden. the state of Virginia, which recently had a poll which put Trump in contention for the state that was seemingly seen as a safe state, voting for Biden by about 10% in 2020. Now not so much as a safe state with Trump being in a dead heat. But now Biden leads by about +1 or even +2 in the state of Virginia. So Virginia does go to President Biden. Something that's interesting to note is that Trump does better when RFK Jr is not included in Virginia, but in other states, Trump does worse when RFK Jr is not included. So RFK Jr.'s support definitely varies by state. So now we have 4 states remaining, and this election can go to anyone at this point. And we'll start with the state of Pennsylvania and its 19 electoral votes. This is seen as a decisive state to decide the election by many, and Trump is leading by +2 or even +3 in these recent polls in Pennsylvania. So obviously fracking is a major issue in Pennsylvania, and Trump takes a more conciliatory oil stance towards those that are in the oil industry, which leads to many in maybe the rural parts of Pennsylvania voting for Donald Trump. So now we have the state of Arizona, which can bring Trump to 268 electoral votes. And Trump does have this whopping 10% poll over Biden, and the 6% poll over Biden, as well as this 3% poll over Biden. And what's the commonality? The commonality is that Trump is leading in the state of Arizona. But he does not win just yet, as there are 2 states remaining with a combined 46 electoral votes. So let's start with unpopular gubernatorial candidate Mark Robinson, likely bringing Trump down. But still, Trump is leading around 3% to 8% in the state of North Carolina. And he won in the state of North Carolina back in 2020. So he does take home the state of North Carolina, bringing him to 284 to 224. Trump does win this election, and let's finally go to the state of Florida, Trump's home state actually, where Mar-a-Lago is. And Trump does lead by 8 in Florida. So Trump leads 314 to 224 and wins this election. So Trump takes home a landslide victory according to pre-debate polling. And if you like this prediction, make sure to subscribe for more, and thank you. And I hope you have fun watching the debate, as I certainly will.